Hello VC. Today I'll show some LPs that have come in recently, either through purchases or from a vinyl show that I attended last week. I'll start off with some Tony Joe White LPs. A long time ago I posted a video of Tony Joe White and J.J. Cale, with Tony Joe White passing away there a few months ago. A number of people watched that video. And one individual made a comment. He said, well, what about the Tony Joe White album? What he was referring to was the self-titled album. And so that sort of got me back on the Tony Joe White bandwagon. I own many albums by Tony Joe White, ones that he recorded earlier. So I decided to look in to see what was missing from my collection. One I didn't have at the time was Homemade Ice Cream. I since picked that one up. And I picked up the Tony Joe White album. And I picked up a couple of his more recent recordings that he made not long before he passed away. So I'll show you these Tony Joe White albums.
It was said of the sheriff of Calhoun Parish not to ever touch his daughter Anna Lee. For to look at her with lustful eyes was certain.
Should mention this is a reissue. I could have actually purchased the original pressing for less than what I paid for the reissue. But in the past year, I've tended to start purchasing, modern pressings. Generally, they tend to be quite good. And normally, they're not too expensive, though, for one reason or other. This one was a little bit more expensive than what the original was. Another one that I picked up.
I'll get up every morning, fix me something to eat, walk into the kitchen and just stand at my feet.
This album is predominantly sort of blues oriented, and musically it's sort of stripped down. Basically you have guitar, harmonica, a bass, and a very simple drum kit. And it's some number of selections I guess would be sort of more acoustic, and they tend to be mostly blues related, most of the songs on here. It's a very good album. If you're more of a fan of that sort of harder swamp rock, you might not be as big a fan of this one as some of his early stuff. The next one I picked from him.
Tell me a swamp story. Not like the ones on TV.
This one is sort of more, I would say, closely associated with some of his earlier stuff. Again, you've got a lot of like swamp rock music. There's a couple really good pieces in here. Tell Me a Swamp Story, for example. Where Do They Go? Also Hoochie Woman, Bad Wind. If you liked your very early Tony Joe White, you'll definitely like this album. One thing I'll mention about these two Tony Joe White albums, the last two that I showed, is they are played at 45 RPM. They are double LPs with only 2 or 3 songs per side. So in a sense, they're almost like audiophile recordings. The pressings are very good, very clean. And so in that regard, you've got very good sound quality records. But in like my case, where I have an external motor on a turntable, an external belt, and I have to change the pulley to change speeds, it could be a little bit of an inconvenience, but still, overall, such great albums as these, it's worth it. Quite often when I watch videos by VC members, and they make reference to a band that I've never heard of. I'll usually research that band on YouTube, just see what they sound like, see if it's something I might be interested in. So about 3-4 weeks ago, I was watching a video by Cosmic Vinyl, and he mentioned the band Earthling Society. I've never heard of them. To my knowledge, I've never seen a record by them. None of my friends have ever mentioned them. So I decided to do a quick research on YouTube, and the records are starting to pile in now. I really love this band. Let me just show you what I've received so far. Actually, the shrink is still on this one, so it might be a bit of a glare. I should mention too that I think they're all colored vinyl. Plain old black vinyl. I was at a vinyl show a week ago. I picked up a few items. I won't show everything I picked up here, just a couple things. Overall, most of the vendors that I stop at this show focus mostly on music from the 60s and 70s. Quite a few vendors there. I only stop at maybe 5-6 vendors at the most, because just don't have time to go through all the records that are there. Here are some of the records I picked up. This one was still in the shrink when I bought it.
10,000 harpsichords blowing in the wind, multicolored magic mist.
Here's a record I've been looking for a very long time. The band, Bobby J and the Hawks, put out a couple albums. One was The Monkey, the other was The Watusi. In the case of The Monkey, I see that at every vinyl show I go to, I see many copies. But over the years, I've never seen a copy of The Watusi until this show last week. So I picked it up. This is sort of like Teen Beat from the early 60s. This is a group I have no records by them, so I saw this one. I thought, well, I'd pick up one, so that I at least have one record by this band.
I woke up and found no one beside me, no hand to hold on to.
I have all the early Man for Man albums, the garage stuff from the 60s. I saw this one, decided to pick it up.
Come on without, come on within. You will not see nothing like the mighty wind. Come on without.
Another one I picked up.
I went down to see Lonesome Mary. She was a sitting all alone.
This is a double record set. Two of the four sides have just a number of songs that would be typical of the era when this came out. And then two of the sides are pretty much entire music, which is sort of like, I don't know if you would call it psychedelic, soundscapes, whatever, but something a bit different, especially for the time at which this was released. Looking through one individual's records, came upon a Kylie record, and I didn't recognize the cover. I didn't know what it was. Was it bootleg or some record I had never discovered? And so I decided to grab it. It was still sealed, and it's this one here.
Put your hand on your heart and tell me that we're through. Oh.
Shrink was still on this one. Hopefully it did not too much glitter. But turns out I already had this record. This is a Canadian pressing. It's actually this record, which is UK pressing. Same record. This one goes for a lot less online than that one. Maybe this one's a little bit rare, that other one, because there aren't that many copies sold. But I would recommend getting this one because it comes with a poster. In Noble Records video, one of his questions was, what's one of your grails? And I indicated at the time that for me, grails are not some rare garage or psychedelic record that goes for thousands of dollars. So we're not talking about, 13th floor elevators or anything like that. For me, grails are something to sort of plug a hole. And in some cases, some of my grails, when they come up on eBay, it may only go for like $10. But it's something that I really want. There's a record that I've been trying to get for 3 years. I was coming to the conclusion that it had never been pressed on vinyl, only CD, because I'd never seen a copy on eBay, never seen a copy on Discogs, never seen a copy in the wild. So at this vinyl show, I was talking to a vendor, and I was asking him, did he have any of the Surf and Drag stuff? And a person overheard me who was shopping for records, and he pulled a record out of the box and said, well, here's some Surf and Drag stuff. And I said, thanks, I already have that. So a little bit later on in the show, I was getting ready to leave. Decided to check out one vendor in the corner who tends to have psych stuff. And I walked over to the vendor, but before I began looking, I feel a tap on my shoulder. And it's this person who had shown me some records earlier. And he said, I found some Surf and Drag stuff. So I said, okay. and he led me over to the vendor, a vendor who I would not have looked at any of their records because I was on my way out the door anyways. And he says, there, in this row, you'll find some surf and drag. I had a quick look at what he was referring to, and it was, actually what it was sound effects albums. There was no music on these, basically drag strip sound effects. But I thought, well, it's getting close. Let me just peel through and see what else might be in that box. I came across the record I've been looking for 3 years, and it was still sealed. Couldn't believe it. So what luck. This is the record. This is a record that 99% of you wouldn't give a second look at. Saw it in a dollar box, you still would just pass it over. But for me, it's one that I've been looking for years. It's this one, Cruisin', 1968. So far, this one now I have in my hand is the only copy I'm aware of. I'm sure there's copies around. Don't know why it's so rare. I've gone onto places like Discogs and that, and people are literally saying, if you have this record, how much do you want for it? So it must be a bit rare. Anyways, I was really happy to get this. This completes the collection for me from 1959, I should say from 1955 to 1969. And if you're not familiar, these are radio broadcasts for that particular year. And so you're listening to the GJ and the commercials on the radio, as well as some of the songs that are playing. In each of these records, the cartoon on the front reflects that year. So in the late 50s, they might be sitting at a soda fountain shop. Of course, here's 68, they're protesting the war. A couple of the tracks on this one is Magic Carpet Ride by Steppenwolf. Spooky by the Classics 4 is another one. So that was quite a bit of luck to discover that record. Quite happy that individual tapped me on the shoulder and took me over there. So those are some of the records I've picked up in the last couple of weeks. As always, thank you for watching and have a great day.